right, here we are on Metropolis. It's the beginning of game number 5. FXO.Tear is our challenger right now, and he's already off to a pretty good start, already getting more wins than even Crank was able to get against HyuN, sitting at 2-2 now. And HyuN, our reigning champion, he is the blue Zerg on the left side of Metropolis. This should be another great game.
That's right, and I mentioned before that I really like Metropolis. It's one of my 3 favorite maps for PvZs at the moment, so I'm excited for this. It usually goes really long-term. You usually can see a lot of very different creative play. I'm enamored with the maps that have the destructible rocks that go from the natural to the third. I think they offer the most flexibility at the moment, so I'm looking forward to a good game. We've seen some of our very longest games here. We saw an hour-long game between StarTale.Ace and Liquid Chef during TAC3, so I don't know. This could be fun.
Yep, there's always a possibility on this map for it to go insanely long. Islands are on this map, but not used too often. It depends if it's kind of necessary. Obviously, it's a little bit harder to defend those islands, so it can be a little bit more difficult. But Tear here, I want to see him return to Stargate play because he did it so well. I feel like that's going to give him the best chance at fighting HyuN here.
Well, we'll find out. It has been 4 games in a row that he's decided to bypass that early +1 weapons to put on additional pressure at the beginning. So that kind of just straight up 4-gate pressure to deny a third is falling out of favor a little bit amongst Protoss players, usually supplementing that with a little bit of additional tech. A lot of times it's Robo. Obviously from Tear, we've seen Stargate work out very well for him, but we'll see what he goes with. HyuN returning back to his familiar, sending 2 drones out, one over to his natural, one over to the third, and he starts that third right away.
That's right, and we saw him do this in previous weeks against Crank and Squirtle, so nothing really new from HyuN. He is actually just gonna, he's gonna not care anymore, so Tear is actually gonna leave there and say, build a hatch, I don't care, but he'd already spent all his minerals, so no second hatch right away here for HyuN, building a couple of lings and a queen instead. Tear, on the other hand, obviously doing the expected thing, the Forge first before Nexus, and I mean, it's really rare to see anything but Forge Fast Expand out of Protoss in this matchup anymore.
All right, so HyuN, we'll see what he ends up going with. He's had a, since he started deviating a little bit, going for more drop strategy and stuff like that, and wasn't playing as reactive, he was able to get a lot more success. So he seems to be a player who just wants to dictate the pace of the game. Both these guys do to a degree, I have to say. Tear, with that Stargate play, was able to pull that off really effectively. But look at this. Let's see what he ends up going with here. He does already have that photon cannon up in the front. He was a little slow to put down the second gas there, but other than that, nothing really that out of the ordinary.
Yep, and I mean, everything's going smoothly. While we're in a little bit of a building phase, we should mention again that IPTL is still going on. The amateur division will return tomorrow, and we're going to be moving into the round of 16, maybe even into the round of 8.
Yeah.
But if you've been paying attention with us the last couple of weeks, there have been some teams maybe no one really knew a lot about, but now that we've actually seen some of them play, it's going to be more exciting to see them play against the teams that you should already know, like Fnatic and Root and all that. So
yeah.
Some of the more unknown teams really need to step up and try to play their best against these well-established teams this week and next.
That's right, guys. We will have games. You mentioned that. We have teams like It's Gosu, we have Root, we have Fnatic. Those games will actually all be happening this week, so I hope you guys will tune in and check that out. Also, we want to let you guys know that we are going to be at PAX on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in Seattle, Washington. So please do stop on by the Ubisoft Shoot Mania booth. If you get a chance, we'll be there, Josh and I, the entire weekend. We'll be casting Shoot Mania. We'll be hanging out with fans. We'll be playing the game with everyone, giving out a bunch of free swag. So please do drop by and check it out.
Yeah, any FPS fans watching the stream right now, we actually have Nothing from former Counter-Strike Evil Geniuses team. He actually just played at the Pan American Games as well,
yeah,
along with Phoenix and Killer. At those Pan American Games, they actually played Counter-Strike still, so Nothing is still active, still trying to earn some prize money in that game. It's incredible, and he's going to be there with us this weekend. Rafa from SK Gaming, one of the most accomplished Quake players in all of the United States in history, is going to be with us playing Shoot Mania all weekend with fans and participating in little show matches and stuff like that. And of course, Chance, former Evil Geniuses Quake player as well, also going to be joining us. And it's just going to be a ton of have awesome FPS content all weekend long if you're going to PAX. Nice moves from TYR right there, getting that Zealot's back against the wall, cutting down on his surface damage there, surface area from those Lings.
Yeah, and it is going to be a robotics facility from TYR. He ended up going for a little bit of a more interesting build, something we haven't seen out of him quite so much. He went a little bit slower on his first initial gas, but a lot quicker into his third and fourth gas, putting those up around the 5-minute 40-second mark rather than the 6:10 to 6:15 point that we had seen him with his Stargate builds. And that allows him to produce an insane amount of sentries and go right into Immortal production here pretty quickly if he wants to, and he'll be able to support all of that. Actually tossing on 2 additional gateways and a Twilight Council right away as well, so maybe wanting to increase those upgrades as fast as possible.
Yeah, let's see if he...
Big blink play, but I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, that's all right. We're going to have to see if he's, purely going for the upgrades, or if he's going to try and slip into Dark Templar or High Templar tech this time around, just to change it up a little bit. Obviously, it's very nice to try out some different builds in a best of 9, and as it's tied right now, TYR doesn't have, he doesn't have so much pressure on him that he can't throw out something new just to see how it does against HyuN. Obviously, if you mix it up and they're not prepared, it can be very beneficial. So Dark Templar or something like that could be really cool, or Storm. Looks like Blink is going to be ordered up now for TYR, so returning to that very basic, very nice upgrade to have available. Obviously, you can blink your Stalkers back repeatedly in a battle against many Roaches or something like that, keeping their shields fresh. And yeah, we've got Roach speed, we've got range +1 damage coming up from HyuN, and Zergling speed all coming up at the same time here.
Oh, and there's Pneumatized Carapace and Ventral Sack, so fast Overlord drops as well. HyuN was able to find a lot of success with this, and this is another good map for it. As we can see, there's a lot of area that can't be covered by units on the ground, so it's very easy to stage up around here, then make your way off to the right-hand side and kind of drop in pretty easily.
Man, usually the maps with a lot of ledge area and stuff like that are nice for drops, but then Blinkstalkers and Colossi obviously can kind of counteract that. This map actually has such huge gaps and doodads and stuff like that. Stalkers won't be able to blink up and mass into the base to try and defend against it. So this is actually kind of scary. It's getting scary here for TYR. Here comes a big encounter. Lots of crazy force fields there from TYR, but HyuN is going to back off regardless. He couldn't quite get to the meaty, the nice high-value targets, those sentries, easily, so he just backs off for now, and he's sitting right outside of that third waiting.
The first set of force fields was pretty spectacular, I have to say. The second one, a little bit wasted. Wasn't able to trap or donut as many Zerglings as he would have liked. Regardless of the fact, he still kept all those valuable sentries alive. They'll slowly start to reaccumulate energy, so not all was lost there. Very, very nice job keeping all the sentries alive. This is a fair number of Roaches. Anyways, we can see a ton more units are streaming across the map, but Overlord's making their way in at a lot better time. We saw that TYR fell susceptible to this back on Antigua Shipyard, and that was even a little bit slower, a little bit delayed because Pneumatized Carapace was out so much later for HyuN.
This is the same play we saw in Antigua. He's teasing the front, teasing the third, saying, "Here are all my Roaches and Lings. Look over here." he's gonna make him look over there in just a moment. But the longer he keeps this up, the more TYR is gonna obviously have to set up all of his sentries, all of his vital forces at the third. The tricky part is gonna be streaming in enough. He's basically going to keep this force here, and he can reinforce the drops with all the things coming out of his hatcheries now. Instead, it looks like he really wants to keep TYR's attention over here. The Overlords actually haven't loaded anything up yet.
Nope, just kind of sitting off in front of the Xel'Naga Tower for now. Yeah, I mean, TYR is he keeping anything in position here? I mean, he has the pylon spotting, but I mean, he really doesn't have the ability to get up there quickly. Now Blink is finished, though, and that is a little more important. Oh, HyuN actually just catching the units as he runs across, and he's going to drop while the units are in transit. HyuN making his way in with a lot of forces now. Blink is finished, so the Stalkers will be able to get in position a little bit quicker this time.
He corrupted a gateway.
Nice.
He corrupted a warp gate, rather. But I haven't seen that in a while. Actually, contaminate. Contaminate is the word, not corrupt. But wow, so he dropped all his forces, and actually TYR is in a much better position than he was in Antigua Shipyard when this same thing happened. He had 2 Immortals and Stalkers already in position when the Overlords came over, so the Immortals at least are actually able to do some work this time. Oh, that Nexus is getting so low, it's going to be killed, I think, before the Immortals are actually able to respond. They're just so slow with their crab walk over to the third base. They're not going to be able to probably not going to be able to kill all this, but HyuN actually, instead of retreating after getting that high-value target, is going to stay in here and probably lose everything. This is crazy.
A little interesting. Yeah, the Immortals are a little bit too powerful for him there, so HyuN takes significant unit losses, but he gets a base. And we're going to find out soon if that trade was worth it. 5 more Overlords being constructed. Obviously, HyuN is very supply blocked. You sacrifice a lot when you try and make this strategy work, and that will give time for TYR to kind of reset himself for the time being. He is still at 133 supply. He's got very powerful units out on the field. His upgrades came along quite well, and +3 weapons is on the way. But still, robotics bay tech isn't quite done yet, and he's going to have to worry about subsequent follow-ups from HyuN once again.
Yeah, HyuN actually, obviously realizing this, is going to just make huge waves of roaches. This is kind of interesting because there is such a high immortal count. It looks like another drop is basically going to have to be necessary, because if he attacks into this Guardian Shield and 5 immortals, that's going to be kind of difficult to actually overpower. Wow. And right now, with +3 weapons on the way, TYR is even going to be in an advantage there. But lots of Lings in production now to try and probably split his attention again. There's Contaminate again on the robotics facility. Oh my goodness. Nice. I like it. I haven't seen it in so long.
And Hallucination was just finished up as well, so TYR can get, I don't think he has enough energy for it at the moment, though, unfortunately, just even enough for 1 or 2 force fields, and that's pretty much about it. So he may need to make another couple sentries here in just a second to be able to send a unit across to see exactly what his opponent's doing, but we know his opponent's not really doing anything. He's just making a ton of units and continuing with his aggression.
Yeah, he's not even really expanding a whole lot or anything like that. He's just trying to finish what the drop started while TYR is a little bit weakened up. He picks off that forge before +3, but +3 still going, so there's actually another forge somewhere that he's actually upgrading that from. Very beneficial for TYR. Very nice there. Man, that actually scared me a little bit, but it's still upgrading. It was pretty far along already, and now here comes another big drop, but he is giving TYR a little bit of time, but TYR is not reacting to this yet.
No, he's not. Oh, there's the Blink Stalkers. Okay. Here we go. So, oh wow, one of the Overlords getting picked off before it's able to unload any of the units. Now finally everything is dropping out directly on top. There's not a lot of critical high-value targets here. Maybe if you can get +3 or the robotics bay in a second, that would be good.
No, this drop is not working out.
No, there's already so many units here for TYR. He blinks directly on top of everything. A few units are trying to stream through, but HyuN is just getting everything decimated.
Something wonky happened there, because it took him so long to drop that payload. I'm not sure what was going on, but probably trying to lead an attack into the third. No, there's only a handful of Lings there, but those Overlords were filled for so long that everything that got dropped just got picked off by the Blinkstalkers right away. And now look at the supply difference. That's not a position you want to be in as Zerg.
No. And we have 2 Colossi being produced at a time. Spire Tech's coming up, but it's a 100-second building. It takes a very long time for Spire Tech to hit. It's as long as a Dark Shrine. So we're not going to see any Corruptors here anytime soon.
No, so the execution of HyuN, I mean, that first drop was sort of meant to be an I win maneuver, and when it didn't, that kind of set him back quite a ways. I mean, he did damage, obviously. He took out the 3rd Nexus, but the follow-up, just pure units not working out, the execution on that second drop did not really do enough.
That was really clever. He unintentionally led up a bunch of Overlords there.
As a feint.
And decided to duck them right away. So like, oh, I showed myself. Whatever will I do? And TYR's forced to push all of his units back in position at exactly the moment he wanted to get out there and start doing some damage.
Yep, so nice feint from HyuN, forcing TYR to move all of his units back. He doesn't feel comfortable enough, even though he's maxed. Doesn't feel comfortable enough moving out yet. +3 weapons are complete now. I mean, he's building those armor upgrades now. It looks like HyuN is trying to catch up on the upgrade front, but he's also building a Hydralisk den right now, even after seeing the Colossi, so that's a little bit interesting. We'll see what he intends to do with those Hydras. 13 Mutalisks in production right now as well.
That's right. So 13 Mutas may be in production, but there's still a lot of anti-air here. 26 Blink Stalkers. He's still got a few sentries out there, and they're recovering their energy nicely. So Guardian Shield certainly going to have to be something that those Mutas worry about. And really, I mean, TYR's in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, TYR, if he continues to move on with this, the Immortal count's really healthy. He's got Zealots. I believe they have Charge. I'm not 100% sure.
Let me see.
No, they don't. Okay. So he's had that Twilight Archive, or sorry, Twilight Council. My goodness. Stargate coming up now for TYR as well. So he's going to be able to add on some Phoenixes or Void Rays, or maybe even just go for that Mothership. This game is getting to the point where we could see the Fleet Beacon and Mothership soon. Yeah,
I think it's likely here in the near future. I mean, especially with the bank that he's assembled. And bye-bye, Mutalisks. 2 of those die immediately, and that is just a slaughter. TYR had all those really, really well in position. I think he realizes that drops aren't going to be as big of a risk anymore. The hallucinated Phoenixes trying to do their best, but they don't do any damage, so it's going to be difficult for them to take out those mutas.
Get them, hallucinated Phoenix. Get them. So the Templar Archive is actually coming down now. Storm on big clumps of mutas could be quite entertaining, so we'll see if that actually even gets to that point. TYR is max still at a 50 supply lead. Will he move in ever? Yes, finally he is. What is that trail of units following his army?
All the Blinkstalkers.
Wow, they're in just a long line. Okay, so he obviously had them at home to defend against the Mutalisks, but now it is go time. Muta's going to try and counterattack, it looks like, but we'll see if TYR bites or if he actually just continues on and takes out some hatcheries.
Sorry, TYR was putting up 15 photon cannons back at home.
Oh, wow.
So,
and there's a Fleet Beacon, too.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to remain really well defended against the mutas, and even though this isn't all the forces, there's still a bunch of Blinkstalkers here for TYR. This is still more than enough to deal all the damage he needs.
That's right, and he is going to move right into the third. Should be able to take out the hatch, no problem, or just destructible debris, but 1 cannon here at the third of TYR. Not going to be enough, obviously, to stop this number of Mutalisks, but it did see 1 go down at least, so the cannon did his job. And, you know, TYR is actually in such a good position now with this sort of, not even a trade, just a little counterattack, but he's got enough defensive forces. There's the GG from HyuN, and TYR takes a 3-2 lead.
Wow, looking really